All right, setting the timer for 6 minutes of witchcraft with me, Laura Tempest Zakroff. And for this episode, I want to talk about charging. I'm not talking about credit cards or a herd of horses or some other sort of rampage, but more in the terms of magical application. And I feel like charging is a term that is overused and often not fully understood. And it could be part semantics that magic is a hard thing to talk about, and so when people kind of feel like they're barely touching onto something, oh, I'll use that word, and it gets used around, and then somebody teaches it and it gets passed around. And surely there are a lot of different meanings that can be applied, but the most common thing is to imbue something with energy, with intent, with some sort of focus, with some sort of additional aid. That's pretty much how I look at it. Other people might look at it different. But I often actually don't think about charging as part of any of my processes. And the reason I want to talk about is that it happens to be one of those things where I've seen a whole bunch of different things in the last month or so that I'm going, that's a really interesting thing. And that people say, oh, I've got to go, charge my crystals under the full moon or under the new moon, or in order to make my sigil work, I have to do this thing to it. Or the reason my spells hadn't been working for all those years is I didn't know how to charge them properly. And I'm going, all right. If we were going to break that down with the latter, execution is an important thing to understanding why and how your spells put together. And how they work. There's so many different kinds of spells. What would you consider charging a spell that works simply by initiating the thought process and visualizing it and it happens? Just the chemical process in the neurons going through your brain and kind of spreading it out to the world? Is that charging it? Is burning a candle charging something? Is dancing in a circle, is raising energy in the concept of, like, say, the cone of power, or treading the wheel, or any of the other ways that people described doing shit in circles. And the other thing I often think about when people are like laying out their crystals in the sun or the moon or what it is, and they're beautiful photos of Instagram, they're very artistic, and I go, rocks most often come from the earth. And if I was going to try to refill the energy, if I feel like something is depleted, wouldn't I return it to the closest situation possible? Like a seashell. Would I return that to a body of water, kind of tip it into the ocean? So crystals, I might put them back into the earth. That's the kind of association, that's sort of this kind of scientific application. Because if your phone, is out of charge, you're not going to go put it by the full moon and be like, it will absorb the rays of moonlight, right? And then charge it back up and it will be full. No, you have to have a very specific method of applying it. But magic's a little different than that. It's a lot bigger than that. And there are so many different ways that you can lend energy to things. And so when I talk about crafting sigils, I'll make a note for the episode, in case you've missed that one, is that in step 3, once you've designed it, that's it. You don't have to do anything else. The process of going through and considering and brainstorming, identifying what you want to do, drawing it, designing it, poof, that's it. You can close the book and never look at it again. But because we're human beings, we often like that step 4, which is to carve it into a bar of soap and wash with it, and to put it into a candle and light that candle on fire, and to use it to draw onto your windows with sacred water, and to plant these things, to draw them in different places. We really like that process because it adds another step in the visualization. And is that really charging it? It's using the body, it's an action, it's solidifying it for your mind. So, not absolutely necessary, but it can help. And there are definitely associations for different times of doing things and other elements that you might incorporate, such as using herbs and cutting them at different times of the growing cycle, whether it's a lunar or the solar, or what phase of the moon. If it's under Scorpio, is it this, is it that, is it Venus? I look at my plants and they're like, cut us. So I'm like, okay, no, I do the thing. So I'm a bad witch, or a really good one if you think about that deep enough. But to each their own and how you want to do things. But the thing about that though is for people who really feel like they're missing out in some way unless they're doing extra steps. Why do extra work if you don't need to? If you understand the elements of a spell and why you're putting them together, if you understand why and how you're doing a ritual, that should be enough. And it can be just the gesture that you breathe and exhale and you let it off into the world, that you light that candle and that spark of flame allows you to see it into the world, that you pour this water out onto the ground. These are technically charging, right? This is to lend energy into something, to focus that intent, to put that, to take your thread, your main thread, and weave it together with these other elements to strengthen it. And that's been technology. It's fun, isn't it? It's great. Love it. So that's what I have to say about charging. And so if you're someone who's really trying to like, oh, but how do I charge the thing? First, trust yourself. You are the main energy source. Well, not quite. You are the source of the idea. Ideas are their own type of tapping into the universe. And as I often say, especially in movement ritual workshops that I do, the human body sucks as a battery, but it makes an excellent conduit. So when you have a concept, let it flow through you, see the origin as you, and let it go out into the world. And whether that is simply by breathing, by drawing, by painting it, by dancing it out, by making music, by lighting those candles, whatever it is that you feel is a natural part of the step, that's enough. But you don't have to do extra things just because somebody throws the word charge at you. So, that's what I got to say about that. If you have questions or thoughts, you can leave them in the comments section. Thanks so much. Bye.